Hi, welcome. Good morning or good whatever time of day it is for you if you're joining us on the recording later. Welcome to Rainbow Moves. If you need a reminder, my name is Rachel and I use they them pronouns. And today is Rainbow Pilates. So we'll be doing a 45-minute Pilates practice on the mat. And in terms of props, we generally don't use much in these online classes because I don't want to give you like some wacky prop that you don't have at home. But if you do have one of these stability balls, it will be really useful. If you don't have one, that's okay. You can use a cushion or a folded up blanket. I'll also show you how to use that for what we're going to use this for. It's just to give a little bit of lower back support in one of the series that we'll be working on. And other than that, just a mat, maybe some kind of knee padding if you have sensitive knees or really hard floors like I do. We're going to spend a little bit of time on hands and knees. So I like to make myself nice and cushy and comfy when I do that. Otherwise, let's get started. So come to your mat. I'm going to switch my camera. While I do that, you lie down. You can have your feet on the floor or your legs bent or legs straight. And start to settle in. I like to start these first few minutes of class together with a little check-in. How are you feeling right now? And how might you use that knowledge to inform how you go about this class today? Are there any ways that you could make this experience 10% more comfortable for yourself? Whether that's running and grabbing an extra sip of water, or your tea or coffee that you left sitting to the side. And then once you've established that, see if you can start to notice the physical sensation of lying down on the ground. Take note of the body parts that are making direct contact with the floor. The soles of your feet. Maybe the back of your head. See if you can check in with your back ribs, making contact with the ground. And just notice the effect that breathing has on these parts of the body. Specifically within your torso. Although maybe you can make some connections to other body parts as well. One thing you can do is place your hands on your tummy. And that way, you might be able to feel as you breathe in, your belly expands and your hands rise up ever so slightly. And then as you breathe out, everything comes in. Nice. They're not there already. Bring your feet to the floor now. And start to gently tilt your tailbone back and forth. It's a little tuck and tilt of the pelvis. Just see how that feels for you. Might be a little bit of a massage for the lower back. And then let's settle into like a neutral-ish position for the spine. So somewhere in between that tuck and tilt, bring your hands down by your side and have your feet be like a nice, easy distance away from your body. So you can tiptoe them out a little bit. And then try to maintain that neutral pelvis as you lift your right foot up, keep your knee bent, and then step it down. Same thing on the opposite side. And step back down. So it's a little march side to side. I like to sometimes put my hands right onto where my hip bones are. Just to see, like, okay, am I rocking a lot from one side to the other? What can I do to kind of mitigate that? So one thing is move a little bit more slowly with some more intention. It can also be helpful to have your feet just like a touch farther away from your body, especially if you're a person who has like a bit of a belly. Sometimes just gets in the way of like lifting up your leg. Okay, a couple more. And step your left foot back down. Give your knees a little swish side to side just to rinse it on out. And then we'll come back through center. Set your knees up, or your feet, both really, so that they're about hip distance apart. And then bring your feet like a little bit closer in towards your bum. Nice. We're setting up for our hip bridges. So you can do a little tuck and a tilt just to like refine your spine. And then bring your hands down to the floor. Start to give your tail a little bit of a tuck, but you don't have to jam it. And then press your hips up towards the ceiling. Nice. Once you've gotten up to the top, roll your way on down. Let's do that a couple of times, pressing up and rolling down. So try to keep your feet really pressed into the floor. Something that you can do just to see like how are my feet doing is take a peek at your knees if they're kind of coming out or knocking in together. See what you can do to point them straight ahead of you. Let's do 2 more just like that. And then roll on down. Bring your knees in towards your chest and roll it out. Give it a nice little roll. Side to side. And then land your feet down on the floor. Step them a little bit farther away from your body this time. So like we were doing in that marching. And then
Give your tail a little tuck and a tilt. This time we're going to try to stay in our neutral spine. So find that space in between. Bring your right foot away from the floor. Bring your left foot away from the floor as well. I always need to do a little wiggle once I bring my legs up. And then try to see if you can push your knees so that they line up over top of your hips. So you can bring your hands in between or onto your thighs. And then see what you can do to hold here. Try to keep from arching your lower back. So try to keep your spine nice and stable. And if you need to lower your legs to do that, you can do that. And then let everything float down. Whew. Give your knees a little wave side to side. And then we're going to progress on. So the first stage of this progression was doing the marches. The second stage is legs up in the air with hands on thighs. Let's reset, and we're going to move along to the third stage of the progression, but just know that if you are starting to get really tired or you feel like you're kind of losing your focus and your form, you can always dial it back down. So let's meet up in this upside down table. Knees stack up over top of your hips, and then bring your hands away from your thighs. So you're making the number 11 with your arms and your palms face in towards each other. Nice. And then start to tap your foot down, whichever one, and then the other. You don't necessarily have to reach all the way to the floor, but you can. But even if you're just moving like a little teeny tiny bit, that's doing the work too. What we're aiming for is staying really stable through the torso. And then if you'd like, you can add your arms by taking opposite arm back as toe taps down. Nice. Let's go for 4 more. This is 3, 2. Last one. Nice. Bring everything up. Float everything down. Excuse me. Let your knees wave side to side. I'm going to grab a sip of my tea. I'm getting over a cold. And then we're going to roll over and meet on our sides. This is where the squishy ball is going to come in, or some kind of cushion. Excuse me, I'm really losing my voice. So coming onto the side, you can use your squishy ball or cushion just as a cushion here. So underneath of your head, like so. I'm going to use my squishy ball today. And then bend your knees in front of you so that you are facing forward, knees bent, knees stacked one on top of the other, and then straighten out your top leg. Imagine pulling your ribs away from the floor, and then lift your top leg up and lower it down. Classic leg lift. So lifting and lowering, trying to keep your hips stacked one on top of the other. Nice. I like to point my toe often. You could also flex your foot. It'll be a little bit of a different feeling in your legs. But here, just do what's comfortable. Okay, we've done a lot of these. So bring your foot down, give your side booty a nice little massage. And now I'm seeing that I have a T right by my foot, so I'm going to move it. So lift your leg up. This time, do flex your foot. So like you're stamping on something. Lift your leg up. Externally rotate. So point your toes towards the ceiling. And then come back to neutral. Internally rotate. So point your toes towards the floor. Come back to neutral. bring your leg down. Yeah, so that's going to be our little move. Lift your leg to about hip height. Toes come towards ceiling. Come back to center. Toes point towards floor. Come back to center. Come on down. Nice. Let's do that 2 more times. Last one. Bring your foot down, give your side bum a little bit of a massage. And then bend your knee, your top leg once again. We're going to open up just at the knee, so a little clamshell, and then close it on down. Nice. So working on both our external and our internal rotation in this series, when we open the knee out, our leg becomes externally rotated. And then when we close it on down, we come back towards neutral. And then on our next one, stack one knee on top of the other. Nice. We're going to do our internal rotation by bringing just the foot up, keeping the knees together, and then coming down. Nice. This always feels like a little bit of a break until it doesn't, at least for me. Let's go for 4, 3, 2. Last one, bring your foot down. We're going to do one more little series. So stretch your top leg out again. Stack your hips one on top of the other. Flex your foot and then lift your leg up. Internally rotate. Bring your foot in front of you. Tap it down. Bring it up towards center. Externally rotate. Bring your foot behind you. Yeah, so now you're making this rainbow. And also turning your leg as you do it. We're trying as best we can to stay pretty stable through the hips, although this is quite a challenging one to not let your hip fall back. So maybe it happens a little bit. We're not going for perfection here. We're going for sustainable challenge. Let's do just 2 more. Just 2 more, I promise. This is the last one. Whew. And then bring your top leg up, stack it back on top, and give yourself a little round of applause or a little bit of massage. And then we're going to push up, meet with our legs in this pinwheel position. So your top leg bends back behind you, and just do a nice big stretch up and over to the other side. And then we're going to come and swing our legs over. And we're going to work the next side. So that same sequence on this side. Give yourself a little setup, move things out of the way that you might knock over. And then once again, we're going to start with our classic Jane Fonda moment, lifting and lowering that top leg. I like to start with just like a really simple, basic movement like this when I do these sideline sequences, because it can feel a little persnickety sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like a little fussy. Let's get our bigger movements in before we get like really granular. All right, bring your leg down, give yourself a little massage on the side if you were starting to cramp. And then bring your leg back to about hip height. Nice. Point your toes up towards the ceiling. Come back to center and then point them down. Back to center, lower your leg. So same move on this side. Point your toes up, back towards center, point your toes down, back to center, lower your leg. I like to imagine like maybe this is a dial where I'm switching the settings. Let's do 3 more rounds like this. This is 2. Whew. Last one. Bring your leg down, give yourself a little massage on the side. And then we're going to stack our knees. So give ourselves a little bit of a break from that particular position. Stack your knees one on top of the other, stack your hips one on top of the other, and then open up just at the knees and close it on in. So once again, working on our different kinds of rotation that can happen in our hips. I think it's safe to say that for most of us, we do a fair amount of training in external rotation. So that's like legs in this position, and a little bit less in internal rotation. I mean, for one thing, there tends to be less range of motion in internal rotation, just like inherently, and it's a little bit more frustrating. Okay, let's do 2 more. Then we're going to switch to our internal rotation. And last one, give yourself a little bit of a massage in between each of these. I really start to tense up when I do these particular exercises. So I get it if you do too. Okay, now we're going to work on our internal rotation. Keep your knees together. Open up your feet and come on down. Nice. So just seeing how this feels for you. It can be helpful to even see, like, imagine if you can visualize, see if you can visualize your femur actually turning in its hip socket. Let's go 3, 2, 1. Bring your foot down. Nice. I like, once again, give yourself a little bit of a massage, even just like pressing on a couple of pressure points in this area can help you from tensing up, cramping up a lot when we do these extended sideline leg sequences. Okay, now we're going to stretch the top leg out once more, flex your foot, and then lift it to about hip height. And then we're going to do that same little finishing move. Open your toes up towards the ceiling, bring your foot behind you, and then rainbow forward as you point your toes down towards the floor. If it's easier for you to think of it like in front of you, toes are tapping the ground, and behind you, heel taps the ground, that can help. Just like remember the choreo of this. And you may find that one leg has significantly more range than the other. Like, I know for a fact that this leg, I have way more internal rotation range than the other one. I have a couple of like injuries on my other leg, and that I think is what is affecting it. Whew. Either way, let's do a couple more. Oh, let's go 3, 2, 1. Whew. And bring your foot back down, stack your knees, give yourself a little round of applause or a little bit of a massage, whatever helps you release. And then we're going to push up into this 90-90, and we're just going to do our nice big waves, our opportunity for like some big fluid movement after these like kind of rigid feeling, sometimes Pilates moves. If you want to twist as you come over away from your knees, that can feel really nice. Now we're going to come all the way up into center. I'm going to recenter myself on my mat a little bit, and I'll just come towards a seat. So we're not going to be here too long. Often I say if we're sitting directly on the floor to prop yourself up on some kind of cushion or something like that. Today, we're not going to be here for too long. So let's sit up tall and start to tilt your tail forward, push your chest out, bring your gaze towards the ceiling. And then opposite movement, opposite direction, tuck your tail, arch your spine, bring your gaze in. So a couple little cat cows. And then come up through center, same little wave side to side. So just getting a little bit of movement through the torso. And then give everything a nice little shake. And we're going to meet in a seat, but legs out in front of us. So this is, again, where I'm going to use the squishy ball, or I said a cushion, but also just like a folded up throw blanket could do much the same. You're going to pop it behind your lower back. This isn't like 100% necessary. I personally find it more comfortable in this particular series. So have your feet in front of you with your knees bent. And you can do a couple little cat cows like while you're here. So rolling your spine forward and back. And like, see, do I feel like I have enough support? This is where, once again, I really like this stability ball. I think that it gives me more support than a cushion or a blanket does. So sit up tall, have your hands on your knees, and we're going to find that C curve of the spine. So tuck your tail, arch your spine, and lean back. You can bring your gaze towards your legs, and then come on up, straight spine. So we're going to do that a couple of times, leaning back, find this C curve, and then come up for a straight spine. Try not to puff your chest out when you come up. Okay, last one. Sit up tall, and now we're going to take hands away from legs, bring them out in front of you. You can have your palms facing in towards each other again. And this time we're going to lean back, keeping the spine straight, and then come back up. So leaning back, straight spine, come on up. This is where I didn't give you the option of having hand weights, but you always have the option of adding hand weights in this particular series. I just didn't want to use them today. Also, if your arms are getting tired, you can do this like Morticia Addams situation with your arms. And you do kind of lose the counterweight that you get when your arms are all the way out. But if you're getting tired there, you also have this option. This is maybe the seasonal option. Morticia Addams Pilates. Okay, let's come on up. And then bring the soles of your feet together. Crawl your hands out. Coming into our little cobbler stretch, butterfly stretch, whatever you want to call it. Just for a little break in the low back. And really stretch her on out. And then let's crawl back up. Bring your feet back to the floor. Okay, we're gonna move along in this particular progression. Let's bring arms out once again. Lean like halfway back with your spine straight. And then bring your right arm up overhead. Try to keep from puffing your chest out. Bring it back down. Same thing other side. Just moving one arm and then the other. Imagining like you're shifting them in line. I like to inhale as I reach my arm up and then exhale as I shift it back down. You do whatever breath pattern makes sense to you. Okay, bring both hands facing in towards each other. And then keep your lower body where it is. Shift or twist your torso over towards the right. and coming through center over towards the left. And coming through center. Again, you have the option of Morticia Addams arms. I guess if you put your hands out like this, it could be zombie arms. Okay, let's do 2 more. With your seasonal or non-seasonal arm placement, come through center, bring your arms down. If you want to do your cobbler stretch again, you can do that. Take a little bit of a break. And then we're going to meet up for one more variation. So back into our position, sit up tall, lean back like halfway-ish onto with your spine straight. Then bring your arms out in front of you. Nice. Now we're going to bend the right elbow in, look towards the right side, and then stretch your arm out, and then wave it in to center. Let's do that on the other side. So bend your elbow in like you're stringing a bow and arrow. Look over to the left side, then open your arm out and wave it in. You can lean back a little bit extra as you pull your arm back, and then sit up tall as you bring your hand in. Let's go 5 times on each side. Always option to forego stretching your arm all the way out. So if you just wanted to do this movement, you're more than welcome. Okay, this is 3. 2. 1. Last one, I promise. Come on up. Bring your hands back down to the floor. Step your feet in to your cobbler pose, or again, whatever one that you like. I just really love this cobbler's pose after that particular leg position. And take a little break, stretch out your back. You can let your spine curve. Take a little moment of rest. And then we're going to meet on hands and knees. So this is where you have the opportunity to pad your knees out. I'm taking this throw blanket and just putting it right in the center of my mat. I do actually think that's a little bit too thick, though. So maybe that's a bit better. It'll depend on what blanket you're using, what your floors are like. I have these old hardwood floors. They're really quite hard, so I need a little bit extra when I'm at home. Okay, bring your hands underneath of your shoulders and your knees underneath of your hips. We're going to cat-cow it out. I find that when we do these Pilates moves that focus a lot on spinal stability and keeping the spine stable, even when we're like loading it up, I almost always want to do some satisfying flowy movement like directly after. You can turn that cat-cow into a little tail wag, peeking over at one hip and then the other. And come back through center, turn that into a full on hip circle. So circling your hips back and around. Let's get some nice movement in there. Switch directions on that. Nice. Okay, come back through center. And take your strong tabletop stance. So if you sort of shift it around, that's okay, but let's find strong table. Nice and straight arms, really imagining like your hands are suction cupped into the floor. So instead of pressing your palms down, press down through your finger pads and your knuckles. And I think you'll find a little bit of wrist, a little bit less wrist pain, hopefully. Okay, so straight back. Bring your right leg back behind you. And if you notice right away that your left hip popped out to the side, mine always does, hug your left hip in and point your hip bones down. Nice. Try to keep your gaze just like a little bit ahead of your fingertips so that you're not cranking your neck. And then lift your foot away from the floor. Nice. Let's bring the opposite arm away from the floor, coming into our bird dog. Then step everything down. Same thing on the opposite side. So opposite leg comes out and up and step it down. This is going to be our movement. So we're going to go straight from one side to the other. Oftentimes I go through this particular pose really slowly and mindfully. I do find that this variation really gets my heart rate going in a way that feels unexpected, given how not fast I feel like I'm actually moving. Okay, let's do 2 more. Either side. So that was 2. This was 1. Nice. Bring both hands back to the floor. Stretch back into a child's pose. Arms stretch out in front of you. Take a breath in and out. You can let your forehead settle onto the floor. I like to keep my head up when I teach, just so that I'm not talking right into the floor. And then start to crawl your hands over towards the right. Take a big stretch through the left side of your body. And then crawl them over towards the left. Come back through center. And come on up to a kneel. Give your shoulders a nice roll back. And then roll forwards. We're going to meet back on hands and knees for a couple final stretches. So I'll start on this side so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Press into your right hand, lift your left hand up, and then thread it through. Look over towards the right. You can bring your head towards the ground and then push up, twist open again. So we're going to do this a few times before finally settling onto the ground. Each time, see if you can get your head a little closer to the floor. And then on this next one, we're finally going to settle all the way down onto the ground. Bring your head onto the floor. If you feel like the floor is really far away, this is where you can bring in your cushion or your squishy ball or like really anything that'll bring your head close or farther away from the ground. Bring the ground closer to you. And if you want to feel more, you can bring your your right foot behind you. You can reach your top hand behind your back. Really any combination of things that will sort of roll you onto this shoulder more. And if all of this is really too much for you, you can come up into a seat, stretch your left arm across your body and hang on to it. It's this classic shoulder stretch. So whatever you're doing, see if you can settle into it for another moment or 2. You're down on the floor, push into your right hand, stretch your left arm up, And then back down towards the floor. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So opening out towards the right, thread the right arm through, and open back up. So with each repetition, you might see if you can bring your head, your shoulder a little bit closer to the ground. Slowly stretching out the back of your shoulder. And then on this next one, we're going to come all the way towards the floor. So thread your arm through, land your hand on the ground, bring your head to the ground, and do whatever you need to make this stretch feel like the lovely, juicy shoulder stretch that you need it to be. So if that means putting more weight onto your shoulder by bringing your top leg back, or twisting your top arm around, or if that means putting less weight on your shoulder by coming into a seat and doing classic, we've all done this in gym class, kind of shoulder stretch. If you're down on the floor, push into your left hand, twist open towards the right, and then come back down onto your heels. We're going to lie back down on the floor to finish out together. So I'm just taking this blanket out of the way. And come on down to the ground in whatever position you feel like the most comfy in. I right away just wanted to roll on my back a little bit. So that's what I did. You could do that too. And this is my invitation to you to do any last wiggles or stretches or movements that you find intuitive in this moment before we rest together. You can rest with your legs outstretched and your hands down on the floor in this classic Shavasana shape. You could have your feet on the floor and knock your knees in together. We call this, in yoga, we call this constructive rest pose. You could find a pose, a different pose that works for you. Taking a moment to turn inwards. How is your body feeling at the end of this 45-minute practice together? Have there been changes in the past 45 minutes? And it's okay if the answer is no, not really. Start to introduce some little movements back into your body, wiggling your fingers and toes, maybe rolling out your wrists or your ankles, nodding your head side to side. And staying lying down for now. We're going to finish with a couple of big deep breaths in and out together. So stretching your arms up, take an inhale, introduce lots of tension into your body, and then wave your arms down, let it go. Let's do that a couple more times. Big stretch, big inhale, lots of tension, and then let it go. Last one. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you are here live or
joining us for the recording. Once again, my name is Rachel. This was Rainbow Moves, and I'm so happy to have you here. Questions, comments, feedback are always very welcome, and I'm going to stop the recording in 1 second. Bye.